Good evening and welcome to the FITT Show, financial information for today and tomorrow. I'm Bobby P. Kinzer,
And I'm Thomas Doty.
and we are the FITT Show, helping our people get their finances in shape. Welcome everybody around the country and around the world. Yes, we reaching and expanding the globe. And anybody who wants to listen about personal money management, we are it. Me and Thomas Doty has been doing this over 2.5 years. This is our 171st show. You can tell people to please join us on Facebook Live and on YouTube. You subscribe to YouTube, and actually, you can go out there and make sure that you share on Facebook. Now, just want to give a little point here, this disclosure statement. We are not registered representatives, financial advisors. We are financial educators. We do not sell products, but what we do is provide information that we hope you can use and be able to share with your family, friends, co-workers, and whoever is trying to actually build and create wealth. Because one of the things that we for sure want people to do is to increase their position, or as a lot of people talk about, close the wealth gap that exists. 'Cause that's the big buzz nowadays, the wealth gap. Why is there such a big gap between, what white people make and black people? And it all comes down to knowledge. You can lead a person to knowledge, but you can't make them think. And what we're trying to do is give you enough information that you can go out there and use. Now, when me and Thomas Doty talk about some of the things that we have purchased, we just give you examples. We're not encouraging you to buy the stocks. We're just using as a measurement. We're not trying to tell you to do what we do. We're just trying to tell you what we've done, and it has worked and how it works for us. Now, it's upon you what you decide to do with your personal investment portfolio and your personal financial plan. Because as we always say on this show, just like God cuts everybody's suit for them, financial planning and financial portfolios are all unique to individuals. So we do not give some one advice fit all, but a lot of what we try to talk about can be used in general terms, and you can take it and go and find advisors, or you can apply it to yourself. So just want to give that little disclosure. We like for you to go out there and click on the like button and the heart button, because that gives us actually greater access to people. That's how it works. That's how algorithms work. Then it's even more important, the comment box that you see there, you all. Yes, me and Thomas are in a virtual studio. But how you can communicate with us, interact with us, is by using the comment box. Plus, the comment box, putting comments in the comment box, that actually works even greater than the like buttons, because for some reason there's a greater algorithms for putting comments in. So we like, if you have comments or you have opinions on things that we're talking about, or you have some other topics that you would like for us to talk about, or if there was something that you came by today or the other day and you just had some questions about and you want to run it by us, if we don't know it, we would know how to get that information. But once again, we're not providing personal information directly for people's investments, because everybody's situation is different. But the news we have is the news that you can use. Thomas Doty, please tell me, how are you doing today, my good brother?
Man, I'm happy to be alive. It's another wonderful day.
Oh, man, that is so great to hear. So with that wonderful information that you're feeling so great, we're hoping that will translate into another great stock market occurrence today. So what you got to tell us about the market today as we start the top of the show?
Well, which is what we're going, it kind of ties into our subject tonight, the volatility of the market. And the market's been up and down, even though the Dow is at an all-time high. And things have been going fairly well. The banks killed their estimates. They all beat their estimates big time. You guys notice some changes in some of the things I bought. I've made some changes, which again, once we get to our subject matter today, we'll go into more detail about why I did what I did. But you can see the S&P is up %, NASDAQ's up slightly, 0.5%, Microsoft's up 1%, and they've all been up and down. Bought a new company. It's called Brady. I'm looking to move a little bit out of the technical sector and get into some of the manufacturing areas, because as interest rates go down, they tend to do better. And the feeling is that I think the manufacturing sector is poised for some good times ahead. And I've made a bunch of money off the tech, so some of that I'm going to hold on to some of my main characters. But I've made a couple changes. I got rid of Amazon.
Hey, Doe, before you go there, can you just tell us a little synopsis of what Brady is? What are they manufacturing?
They're manufacturing companies, and they do things that help people with their manufacturing processes. They create labels and they create equipment that helps manufacturing processes. They're based in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and I actually interviewed for this company a while back when in the middle of my work career, and was very impressed with them. Obviously, I didn't take the job. I stayed with PPG, but they were a very impressive company then. They're a 10 rating on Fidelity's analysis of how all the analysts feel about them.
What is that on a scale of 10?
Scale of 1 to 10. Yeah, they are a 10 out of 10.
Are they are they a Fortune 500 company?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
And so I'm holding on to Apple. Apple's up 3 points. I also bought HP, and I just think with the big push to AI, that there's going to be a lot of traction in the HP stock. That's also rated a 10 by Fidelity's analysis. Held on to NVIDIA. NVIDIA was up as high as 139, almost hit 140. They're up too. Now, I did sell 300 shares, so I have 800 shares left. So I didn't totally get out. And as Bob mentioned, a lot of what you see here, this is what works for me. I've got a bunch of capital gains I'm dealing with, so I'm looking to kind of recognize some gain as I go along. And Google's up a couple points, and I also held on to Google. So my mainstays are Microsoft, Apple, NVIDIA, and Google. I added HP and Brady, and I'm also looking to add 1 or 2 more manufacturing companies, because again, I think they are poised to do well. I just got to do some more work to figure out what other couple of companies I'm going to buy. And I was telling Bob, it took me about 3 hours to figure out what I wanted to buy, what sectors, what type of company, what I was looking for. And then I did the work this week and made the transactions, and we'll see how we do.
Yes, I mean, that's all you can do. But remember, you got to be in the game if you want to play the game.
If you want to win, you got to be in the game.
You got to be in the game. That's right. That's right. So, no, that's good stuff, though. By the way, my gold, physical gold, is up over $2,700, and that's good, because I guess I could say it was around about 2016. It was at about 1,300.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what, in 8 years it's doubled, and that's 100% return. That's I would say that's pretty good. How's
it's about 9% a year.
That's a good return,
right?
Good, steady return. So, Dote, how's your gold fund doing?
Man, I'm up 25% between now and April.
That's good.
I'm doing okay. And again, that's something I put in that Roth, and I'm putting in there and forgetting about it. I'm not going to look at it, watch it go up, but I'm not going to make any transactions out of that. But that's where I am.
Some other people have asked me, because we are big on diversified portfolio, because we don't believe in putting all your eggs in one basket. And when one industry is up, another could be down. And then when the other's up, the other can be Although it is down, the other one could be up. And
Right.
some people ask me to report on, because we both hold treasury bonds. And how are they doing?
Okay, I got out of treasury bonds once interest rates, started to change a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I jumped out. I don't have any T-bills no more,
Okay.
and not looking to buy any at this particular time. I believe with the lower interest rates, the stock market is poised to do pretty good. So
Right.
that's kind of where I'm sitting right now.
But you're already in the stock market, so I held because I think this is around about 4.5% now, but we were getting 9%, and it was exempt, triple exempt, right? No, exempt from
State.
Yes.
You don't pay state taxes on them.
Excuse me, not they weren't triple exempt bonds; they were exempt from state tax. So I'm holding because I believe the market is going to go back down again at some time. So I'm just going to hold steady as that, is a balance in my portfolio. So, and like we said, there's no right or wrong, and we're not telling you to do what we do. We're just telling you what we do and the outcome.
Right.
But overall, if you look at this chart, before I go to cryptocurrency, the far right chart, that's the year-over-year percentage change. Those are some good returns, though.
Well, that's the change from the end of last year. Yeah, not
year to
the same
date.
period.
Right,
Yeah,
that's year to date. Year to
right.
date, from the end of last year, December 2023 to today. Those are some good returns, though.
Those are some great returns.
As a matter of fact, they're great returns, no question, because though Social Security averages 8% a year. So
what do you mean?
if you're doing better than that, that's to tell you something. You know what I mean? And that's just as conservative as you can get. So those are the benchmark. And then the other benchmark you all for to know if what's a good return, it's just you peg it to savings accounts. If you look at savings accounts, because that's the safest, right? But remember, the lower the risk, the lower the return. So that's what you should base your return. Now, if somebody is telling you, guaranteeing you 30%, 40%, because all these returns right here, there's no guarantees. Like they say, past performance is no indicator of future returns. And if anybody's telling you, because a lot of people out there nowadays, especially though, and it takes me to go to cryptocurrency right now, a lot of people are talking about all this they made in cryptocurrency, but past performance is no guarantee of future returns. A lot of people telling me about cryptocurrencies paying like 50% returns, 40%. Some of them saying 90% returns. That there is no guarantees, especially in cryptocurrency, and that's why it's all over the place. But I want to talk about cryptocurrency. The market cap is $2.4 trillion. And it went all the way down to like 1.7 at one time. The market around about the pandemic, but it's up from last week. It's up 205 billion. It's up 9% overall. And we just tracked some of the top 10, and the Bitcoin is still number one. And it last week to today, Bitcoin went up over $7,000. That's 12% return. So you people who's holding, you did pretty good from last week. And then Ethereum, which is a smart contract, they up $222. That's about 9% from last week. And that's still, like we say, those are pretty good returns. Anytime you can do returns, better than what Social Security is paying you. Then Tether.
When you say what Social Security is paying you, what do you mean by that?
I'm sorry. No. I'm sorry. I'm not what it's paying you. Let me clarify that. Social Security, if you hold Social Security, they would say like your Social Security increase about 7% a year.
If you delay taking Social Security.
If you delay, and I'm glad you said for me to clarify that. If you delay taking Social Security, you're getting an average return of 7%. And I was just using that as a benchmark since that is really conservative Social Security. So
Yeah.
so this to give you a benchmark, because there's no really guarantees or anything. But I'm just
Yeah.
saying, if you
Well, Bob,
could make 7%, go ahead.
yeah, another way to say it, if you can take your Social Security at 62 and you decide to wait until you're 63, they give you 8% more if you
Right.
wait a year. That's the number you're referring to.
That's exactly the number. Thanks for clarification, Doe. So I would use that only as if it's conservative as Social Security is, and you can make 8%, then if you're going to, make 12%, 9%, or even more, you're doing pretty good.
And that's the thing. I'm greedy, and that's why I'm still in the stock market and out of T-bills. Bob's a little, I shouldn't say I'm greedy. I'm aggressive. A little
Aggressive,
more less
right?
conservative. Bob is more conservative. That's why he's still in T-bills. And if you look at the percent change year to date, I've done pretty good. But one other thing I want to say about the we've been looking for a tie for the cryptocurrency. Flip to that chart real quick, Bob. The crypto, and a lot of money is flowing into the crypto ETFs,
Right.
and that's one of the reasons you see some positive numbers in all the different cryptocurrencies. And if people are investing in crypto, that's going to drive the price up. And you can see when the market's up 9%, the cryptos are going to follow. Bitcoin's up, going pretty good.
Right. And those ETFs, because they got several different cryptocurrencies in those funds.
Yep.
And that's supposed to be the benefit of you trying to mitigate the risk by having different kinds in there. And once again, like we always say, it's highly speculative. So, beware. And let's talk about our subject this week. Last week we talked about payment apps, and they were here, and be diligent with them because there's a lot out there. There's a lot of scams, and we hope that was helpful. Matter of fact, a bunch of people replied back to us though saying they learned so much about payment apps that last week they didn't know. But this week we got another interesting topic, and it's navigating volatile markets. And let them know a little bit about that, though.
Yeah, and that's the thing. When things get volatile and choppy, you have to have an investing plan, and you have to be willing to stick to it. I mean, we're in a bull market. This is his second year, and it's been a great run. I mean, we just showed you those charts on the couple charts ago with the 20% increases. Nvidia's more than doubled. It's been a real good run. It's a 60% gain overall in the market, and a lot of people think that it's time for a pullback, or for things to kind of run out of the bull, kind of run out of the steam. Now it's interesting because this month, October, there's a phenomenon known as the October effect, and that's the belief that markets typically decline in October.
Right.
And nobody really knows when that's going to happen. Nobody has any special information on that. But when you look at history, the Dow, it's historically is 34% more volatile in October than other months. And again, we're talking about average.
Wow.
S&P 500 has been shaky in October too. And right now we got big political things going on, two very different presidential candidates, which are going to do different things in the economy if they're elected. And so that's putting some things up in the air. And then we got a lot of things going on overseas between Ukraine and Middle East, and who knows what's going to happen next. And that's all going to shake, or could shake, the market up. So you got to think about what that means for you personally. And so for some people, watching their investments go up and down makes them uneasy, and a lot of people panic and sell. But we're recommending, or what we do personally, is stay the course. It's always tempting to sell when you think things are going to go down. But if you do, it's always hard to catch up. Once you miss out, it's hard to figure out when to get back in. And that's when it gets almost impossible to do. And the professionals even have trouble doing that. And that's called time in the market, which doesn't work for anybody. So sometimes you get good news, the market goes up. You get bad news, markets go down. That could make you a little bit nervous. But history has shown you stocks have always recovered. And over the long term, they've always done well. And as we always tell you, that's no guarantee it's going to happen in the future, but it's always happened in the past. After things are bad, things are usually good.
Yeah, dude, and it's hard to see your retirement investments go up in value one day and down the next. It's even harder to see them go down after day. It's tough for some people. So as recent volatility shows, no strategy can guarantee positive returns. While it is true that nobody can predict when markets will turn in either direction, it is certain that asset values will both rise and fall, and that global equity markets will experience volatility from time to time. It's just a fact. Now, sticking with your long-term investment strategy is always the best course of action. Me and Dope talk about that all the time. But it could be tempting to sell equities as prices fall and wait for the storm clouds to clear. Now, the devil, however, is in the volatility details. Decades of stock market research has revealed that, steep costs of missing the best days, which tend to cluster around the worst days. Now, a better and ultimately more successful approach is to focus on aligning the risks in your portfolio to your unique personal goals. Now, still, it's worth remembering the following long-term fundamental principles of investing, especially in difficult market environments.
Yeah, and the most important thing you got to do, you got to keep perspective, not get alarmed by downturns because they are normal. Okay, historically, stocks have experienced 3 downturns of 5%, one correction of 10% in a year, and one correction of about 15% every 3 years. And so downturns, they can be unsettling. History has shown that stocks have recovered and delivered long-term gains. So if you look at the chart here, you can see all the craziness. Those circles represent things that have happened that were negative and caused big drops in the market. But you can see the slope of the line, which is returns, is constantly going up. You see the collapse, the Berlin Wall. That was back in, what was that, 1960 something? I can't see the bottom date, but it was a while ago. The dot-com bubble, that was in the early 2000s. But and then it was a pretty nice little drop, but then you can see it gradually starts moving up. You see the Iraqi war in there. You see the global financial crisis in 2007 that caused all big drop in the market, but look at the long-term trend. And you see a couple other things. You see Brexit, you see the pandemic, big drops there, but you see the market continues to move up. Then you see the 2022 bear market that we had, another dip, but again, the market recovered and it's constantly going up. And that slope of the S&P index is about 10% a year. And that's really how you look at it. You got to look at it for the long-term play.
Yeah, dope. So, you need to get a plan you can live with, right? Through the market's ups and downs. That's the key, right? Now, your mix of stocks and bonds and short-term investments will determine your potential returns, but also it will likely, will swing in your portfolios, right? So pick an investment mix that aligns with your goals. Now, time frame, and pick things that fit your financial situation. And you can stick, something that you can stick with despite market volatility. Now, this particular graph actually shows you a conservative investment portfolio, a balance, a growth, and aggressive growth. Let's just look at the conservative one, which is the first column, which is being considered. This is just a benchmark: 50% bonds, 14% U.S. stocks, 6% foreign stocks or international stocks. So that's actually 20% in stocks and 30% in short-term investments like money markets or CDs, right? Very conservative. But go down. If you had a conservative, the average annual return for this particular type of portfolio, being conservative, is 5.7%. Go to the growth column, 3 columns over to the right, where you have 49% U.S. stocks and 21%, international stocks, which would mean you actually have 70% in stocks, and you have 25% in bonds, and only 5% in short-term investments, meaning like money markets. Look at the annual return there, 8.75%. And then you just going down, but look at the worst, the 12 worst months for a conservative portfolio. If you're a conservative person like myself, now myself conservative, I'm like 65, 35, 65% short-term investments like T-bills and bonds and stuff like that, and 30%, 35%, U.S. stocks. But look at this thing. This shows you the worst 12 months if you're really conservative. It's about, and once again, these are just examples, benchmarks. They're no precise. We just use these as examples, but this is actually true returns. A negative 17% in the worst 12 years. Look at the growth, 52 because you're taking higher risk. 52% versus a 17 if you're a conservative person like me. Somebody like Dope, he would have lost to like about a 52%, almost 53%. Now, if you take the 12 best month returns and you're conservative, 31% Dope. But look at somebody like Dope who took a more aggressive, this growth, and Dope is, I wouldn't even say Dope might even be aggressive. That's even where a 109% return in 12 months to 130%, 6%. And what this is just showing you all, it's just if you just take more risks, you get a high reward. But we also know that when times are down, that's when you get hit the hardest. But over time, look at it. Look at the best 20 years, the bottom line, the bottom column, the bottom, row. If you were conservative, like I said, just in bonds and 20% stocks and short-term, cash equivalents, your total return in 20 years would be 10.98%. But if you were in a little bit of more growth, your return is 15. Now, Doe, let me ask you something. Do you think that's a big difference between 10%, or 11% and 15%?
Between 11 and 15?
Do you think it's worth taking the risk?
For me, it is. And another way to look at it, if you look at, let's take the rule of 72s and you use 15, let's say 72% divided by 15. So that money's doubling. Hold on, 72 divided by 15. That money's doubling every 4.8 years.
If you get 15% return, it doubles every
4.8 years. But if you get 11%, that money's doubling every 6.5 years. So that's I'm blessed to be aggressive because I can afford to be aggressive, and that's really half of it. And I'm willing. There's no money that I need immediately. So if the market does take go negative, it's not like I'm living on that money or I need that money for something specific. It's not like when my kids were going to college or, trying to save for a house and things like that. And so if I'm looking for the big returns.
Right. I feel you on that, though. So continue, though.
Okay. So the important thing, and again, this is kind of leads right into it. You got to focus on time in the market as opposed to trying to time the market. You know,
Say that again, though, because that sounds like oxymoron.
but no, it's important to focus on how much time you are in the market
Yes.
versus trying to time the market, trying to pick the right time to get in and get out. And a lot of people do that. You know, it's always tempting to try to sell right when you think things are going down to avoid a downturn, but it's impossible to time it right. You know, if you sell and you're on the sidelines, then you're going to miss the recovery, and it's very hard, if not impossible, to catch up. So missing even a few days of the best days in the market can significantly undermine your performance. And so take a look at the chart here, and what it's showing you is if you miss a few days, this is what happens to you. Okay, in first example, you stay invested the whole time. So this is what would happen to $10,000 in the S&P 500 from January 1980 until December 31st, 2022. So that you got $1 million if you just leave it in there. But if you miss the best 5 days, if you sold out and then missed the best 5 days, you only have 671,000. If you miss the best 10 days, it drops to 483. And on and on. If you miss the best 30 days, if you miss the best 50 days. And it's very easy to do that if you sell when things are going bad, because you are going to miss the recovery. And a lot of times things take a big dip and they may come back instantly. And so it's best to stay invested. Nobody knows when to get in and get out. People can think they do, but I'm telling you, the professionals don't even know that. It's important to be in the market. We've talked about the rule of 72s. We've talked about how the S&P is average 10%. And we've talked about saving consistently and constantly. And we feel that's the best way to build wealth, as opposed to trying to gamble on, you got to be right when to get in and you got to be right when to get out. And you got to do that multiple times. And I don't think anybody has that knowledge.
So some people will look at this chart and go, all right, I invested $10,000 and, I missed 50 days of the best days. I missed 50 of them. And I still made $76,000 off of 10,000, right? That's a good return. But what we're saying, just look how much more you can make by just being patient, and riding, the ups and the downs. You can make, and like I said, it's no right or wrong. Some people though, they're happy with $76,000 for 10,000. But what we're trying to get y'all, and I know y'all saying, God, don't Bob be driving the market. I mean, let's be honest, you all. There's only a few things out there that you can really make money on, right? And there's all kinds of hustles out there. There's all kinds of businesses. But we're talking about, this is what they call passive income. This is when your money is working for you. We're not talking about compensation. Compensation is where you work at a job and you working for the money. But this is where your money is working for you. And that's why I hope y'all understand why we drive this so much, because, you could build so much more and can have a better control or better access to things, instead of having that albatross around your neck of being in so much debt and you can't pay it off. So I'm gonna get off of that. So though, one of the things is about investing consistently. We talk about that also. It's all about consistent. We've talked many times about dollar cost averaging, right? But what I'm talking about today is investing consistently, even in the bad times. Because what human nature has always been, though, when the stock market is down, people panic because they can't take looking at their funds going down day to day, and they jump out. And that's those days where they miss those good days, right? And then they want to try to get in when the stock market is up and you're paying more. That's just human nature, how it's always been. When the market's down, people panic, going to get out. When it's up and all their friends are telling about how much money they made last week, they try to jump in. And that's how you usually get burnt. But this graph is just showing you investing during recessions has historically led to strong investment results, meaning some of the best times to buy stocks have been when things seem worse. Consistent investing can give you the discipline to buy stocks when they are at their cheapest, right? We talk about that all the time. Consider setting a plan for automatic investments, like dollar cost average, we just talk about. If you got $50, every month, purchase, a particular mutual fund, a particular index fund, of ETF, just do it consistently because over time, dollar cost averaging, it will work. For instance, this particular graph is the green bar on the left for you colorblind people, the solid blind bar on the left, and the bar on the right is during times of growth periods. Like right now, we're in a growth period, right? The market's been returning, and you've seen the percentages that we show you that the market has grown. It told you over the past, actually, over the past 10 years, and this is unprecedented, by the way, we've been in a growth period. And they've been talking about recessions. But this chart is showing you when there was a recession, a year later, if people who were investing during the times when the recession was in, on average, you would have made 18.4%. And that same year later, if it was a growth period, when things were up, obviously you were going to be purchasing when things are higher. Your return is not going to be as great if you were purchasing stocks when they were cheapest in a recession. But it's showing 11.4%. The same thing if you go all the way to the far right, 10 years after recession, if you've invested back during the investment times, your average return would have been about 12.4%, and during growth periods, 10%. All this is just showing is that historically, there's been, the stronger investment results happened when the markets were down and the stocks were cheaper. That's what this is trying to depict.
Yeah, and to that point, you need to take advantage of that. And again, we're not talking about time in the market. We're saying you should constantly and consistently invest. And nobody likes to lose money. But if you are in that situation, tax rules actually help you out because you can use your losses to offset some of your tax bills to reduce your taxes, or you can lose lower share prices to convert to a Roth at a lower rate. Now, let me explain what I mean by that. Let's say your portfolio is worth $50,000. They have a recession, it drops to $40,000. So that's the time you might want to consider taking that money and converting it to a Roth, because that you're only paying tax on $40,000 instead of $50,000. So, down markets create opportunities, and that may be a good time to meet with your advisor or do a little more research to look for bargains to try to find what you should be looking at, maybe what you want to invest in when times are down. Not to sell what you have if you've made a good decision on buying a stock, but it might be time to look for opportunities. And I do that just as a matter of course. When NVIDIA got up to like 135, this was a couple of months ago, and then some news came out and it dropped to 120. It had a big drop. So I bought another 100 shares, and and now it's up to, I think we said 136. So that's $1,600 I made just because I feel NVIDIA is a quality stock. I feel the market took a big hit, and the reason the market went down had nothing to do with NVIDIA. It's more the external environment. So if things are going good and NVIDIA is a good company, eventually it's going to turn around, and indeed it did. And so those are the kind of times you look for bargains. And you may, if you have an advisor, you may talk to your advisor to help him have him or her help you find bargains. You may want to look yourself, or look at good, even companies that you already own that you think are very good companies that have been performing well. A lot of times they may go down because a company in their segment has bad numbers, and it's assumed that they're going to have bad numbers too. So there's a lot of reasons that a company can go down, but you should always look for opportunities as opposed to always looking to sell or looking to get out of the market. Try to buy things when they're low, and they're low when things are bad.
Hey, Doe, there's a conversation going here on our site with Rodney Madison and Modestine Johnson. Modestine said, yes, I'm living my best life and spoiling my nieces. I am able to save more money in retirement. And Rodney, I will put this up. Rodney says, beautiful. I will join your retirement at the end of 29, 25. Rodney, I don't know how old you expect to get, but 29, 25.
I'm sure that's a typo.
No, I'm messing with him. I'm like, God, he ain't never planning on retiring.
But you know what? That's interesting when you talk about saving money in retirement, because a lot of people don't. I never thought that I would. I thought once I retired, I'd spend everything I have and buy all this stuff and a whole lot of junk. But man, you get to the point where you just don't want to buy. You don't want to spend as much. And so it is interesting that if you're in the market and the market's going up, I mean, I'm making more money in the market than I made when I was working. So, but I'm not spending at the same rate either. I don't have 4 crumb snatchers sucking on my money either. So there's a couple of reasons for that. But it is interesting that people save money when they're retired.
Right. So, Doe, you need to consider a hands-off approach, meaning if you're not comfortable with the market risk, consider turning your portfolio over to a professional fund manager, like, an all-in-one mutual fund, an index fund, an ETF. It's that can save you the anxieties of trying to invest yourself. But that's another approach. And like I said, it's passive income. You have your money working for you. So consider that. Mutual funds are great. I've been in them, and most people's 401k plan is what it's been invested in mutual funds, and they've done very well. But we like to just tell you there's some things you can do outside your 401k plan that can, net you more money, because we're hoping you're maximizing the amount in your 401k plan. That way you can go and invest in some other stocks and then make you even more better off and take that trip around the world.
Yeah, rebalancing. We've talked about this, and it's a little bit of what I did with my stocks that we talked about earlier in the show. And so conditions may force a need to rebalance. And that's just selling some winners and using those proceeds to possibly buy some things that are not doing as well to bring your portfolio back to its target allocation. So think about it. If your ideal mix is 60% stock, 40% bonds, but the stock market has gone crazy high, so that's forced you into a 70-30 ratio. And if you've decided that 60-40 is your ideal, then you got to sell some stocks, buy some bonds in order to keep your portfolio where you'd like it. And the same thing goes with exchange traded funds or mutual funds. Also, you could shift some of your equity into some other areas that may not be doing well. Like in my case, I took some money out of tech and I'm looking to move money into some industrials or manufacturing. And small caps are also expected to do really well, because when interest rates go down, the smaller companies tend to do very, very well, especially if the Fed keeps lowering interest rates. And another thing you might want to look at is investing outside of the U.S., looking at other regions of the world, for example, Europe Asia or even South America. And if they're in the point where they're selling at a discount, it may be time to jump in there. And so it's always good to look at other opportunities, rebalance to make sure you don't go too heavily involved in one particular segment, whether it's stocks, bonds, and try to keep that same ideal ratio intact because that's the level that you're comfortable.
Another consideration, you all, in volatile markets, you need to, adjust when necessary. Now, we always talk about holding for the long play, but then sometimes you need to consider trimming your winners. And we know trimming your winners is easier said than done, meaning like Dope did. Dope cashed out some on the video and some of his other stocks, but people don't want to leave something hot to go into something not as hot. It's almost like exercising. You got to do it even if you hate doing it. But you need to consider, to adjust when necessary, when to take, some of your profits off the table, when to do what they call tax harvesting. If it's been a dog stock for so long, you get up to about $3,000 that you can write off against passive income. So that could be a way to adjust, but it's hard. It's harder, Dope, and you're one, Dope, because I always talk about Dope. I said, Dope, why don't you just take out what you made, take that off the table, and leave, you riding on their money. But Dope's like, why do I need to do that? There's no right or wrong.
But I'm an accountant by trade, so I'm a practical person, and I have to have a reason to do that. And just to get out what I made, I've always said when I decide to sell, I have to have something else that I'm willing to buy that I think is going to do at least as well as what I had. And that's kind of how I feel about taking some money off the table in NVIDIA. But as I mentioned before, I'm also dealing with how much capital gain I have and whether I think something else is going to do better than what I already have. And that's why I made the decisions I made. So
Dope, you don't think there's no merit into the old saying, a bird in the hand's worth two in the bush? If you just take out what you put in it, it doesn't matter if it goes down. It does matter if it goes up. But if it goes, and hypothetically, right, we just saying if it keeps going up. But what if you would have took out what you paid in Pfizer? Did you make out in Pfizer, by the way?
No. That's my one loser. That's the only stock I've lost money on. Even Tesla had gone positive on me.
And there's my point. Now, just think if you took out what you put in the Pfizer early, you might have not even had a loss at all.
No, first of all, I was never up on Pfizer, so that's first of all. Second of all, I still made a 5% return with almost 6% return in dividends. So that's why I was happy to do that. But again, the only reason there's no sound reason for doing that. I'm a practical person. Things have to make sense to me. And just to say I'm going to take out what I made, that doesn't move me. I got to have a fundamental reason that makes sense in order to make a transaction. And just taking out what I made doesn't affect me one way or the other.
Because to your point, right? Why take it out and then put it in a savings account paying less than 1%, or even if you're high yield 4%? And I get it. But some people just feel like psychologically, it helps them like feel, at least I'm not losing no money. I took my money out,
But we've always said, if that works for you, then that's what you do. You can't do what I do because you won't be happy with some of the results that I get. You have to do what you're comfortable with. And if that makes sense to you, by all means, that's what you should do. But everybody's not a practical nerd like I am. So
Dope, can I ask you this personal question then?
You can ask, yeah.
Thank you. No, I
No, I assumed you were going to ask anyway, but I may not answer, but you can ask.
I was just waiting for you to say yes or no. I'm going to go fools. So Dope, out of how many stocks you got now?
I think it's about 7. Somewhere around there.
Okay, let's say 7, 8 with Pfizer.
I don't have Pfizer no more, but okay.
No, stick
I
with
sold
me.
it off.
Stick with me. Stick with me where I'm going with this.
Okay.
I'm leading up to my question. So let's say Pfizer was your only loser, which that's just very rare because I can't say that with mine. I got some winners, I got some losers. But is it because? So why have you been against all? Why have you been so successful? Because those odds are very great, though. I mean, there's financial advisors. I mean, fund managers they can't say they've only had 1 out of 8 to go bad. What is your secret?
I'd like to say I'm smart, but that's not truly the answer. I wish I could.
That's where I was going with this. I thought you were going to tell me you have some kind of algorithm chart that you put together as an accountant, that you track technical analysis and you look at fundamental analysis.
And so, some of it is just blessings. I mean, I'm blessed. I do analyze. I'm very practical, which helps you in picking stocks. I can take emotion out of making a decision and just look at the numbers. I mean, that's what I've done for all of my career is analyze data. And so I look for something that's growing. Some of it is just a gut feel of how I think a company's going to do. But it's just a blessing that I have of following my gut. And my gut's usually right. And that's what I do. So I wish I had an easy answer and say I had this magic Ouija board that picks stocks.
I thought you were going to tell me you had some little guy in some back room that you're paying that gives you these inside trading tips.
Well, these are mine. These are stocks I picked. Right. And I look at a lot of different things. I read a whole lot. I mean, I'm retired, so I don't have much to do. But I read a lot of financial information. For a while, I was subscribing to Motley Fool. I read Kiplinger. I probably read 10 different financial publications because I enjoy that. I enjoy reading.
And there you go. You out there. You don't have to be no accounting or finance major to read publications. So right. I'm getting to the bottom of some of this dope. Because it's not like you some guru.
No, it's not. But I do put some time in reading and following my gut. And I do the things we talk about. I don't jump in and out. I try to pick a good company and stick with it. And, if I can keep, and the winners I have done tremendously well. But anybody who's invested in tech stocks have done well. That's the other part of it. Anybody who's invested in the tech industry has probably done very well. Not just me. And a lot of people have invested in tech stocks.
So let me ask you something. So cash is no longer king?
Cash is always king. Always. And don't ever for a minute think it's not, because it's always important. It's always good to have money just in case an emergency comes up, living expenses, and you don't have capital gains when it comes to cash. And so we talked before about asset location, putting securities that do trigger capital gains in tax deferred accounts. And you might want to keep your cash outside of those tax deferred accounts because they don't trigger capital gains. And again, you aren't making the crazy returns, but you should also still maximize the return on your cash. Like the money markets are still paying upwards high 4%. Right. So that's nothing to sneeze at. And any excess cash you have should at least be making that much money. So it's always good to have, never bad to have cash. And the other thing is you can take advantage of opportunities as they present themselves if you have cash. So it's always good and it's never bad to have cash.
Right. And so with this, though, before we go into the summary of today's show, we hope you understand that you know it's important to invest, you all, to maximize your return, to maximize your performance. But it's also important that you make sure you have low expenses. You know, all of these things work together, you all. So, you know, we're not just riding the stock market. And it's just that that's one of the places we know that you can earn, you know, a great return without taking all these big risks. But at the same time, you got to stop spending so much too. Because I'm at so I'm at the Staples, young guy, right? He said, "Oh man, you got a book?" Yeah, yeah. I said, "Yeah." He said, "What do you do?" I said, "I teach financial education, financial information." He said, "Man, I really need help, man." He said, "You know, I got a lot of debt. I got $16,000 on one credit card. I got $800 on another credit card, and $300 on another credit card." And he's working at Staples, right? So I'm like, "Well, dude, why don't you just pay off the 300 and the 800? You got to be at least making that here." And you know what he told me, though? I got, I had NVIDIA since 2014. I said, "Dude, wait a minute. You're not taking any of that and paying down your debt on the $16,000 credit card?" "No, I don't want to mess with that because I wanted to keep growing." I'm like, so dope. So we're talking about volatile markets and stuff like that, but it works with everything you're on. And that's why I just want to make a moment because he just blew my mind. And he had the video a good amount of shares though in 2014. So you know he made out. And he said, "Nah, I don't want to touch you because I wanted to keep it going." I said, "Dude," but and my point where I went here though was he's making. I said, "Dude, so you're making, let's say you're making 15%, 20% on the video, and you're paying 24%. You're making half, even if the video as much as it's doing right now, dope. It's eating, and that debt is eating the 24. You could be making that much more in the video." He's thinking he's making more by leaving it there. I said, "No, dude, you're netting out. Your NVIDIA is not making as much as you could be making because you're paying all this debt." He said, "But what if I pay the debt?" I said, "You pay it off, and then it's in, and then the NVIDIA that's in there will keep growing." And I wanted to make that point, though. I hope everybody understand why I took that sidebar. It's just how people are thinking, man. And we just want y'all to change your mindset, especially our Black folks, about taking risks, man, and getting older and living your life. You know, make some money so that you can spend it and don't have to worry about holding on tight because you're worried about you're not going to have enough when you get 80 years old. That's all we're trying to share with you all so that you can live a much easier life. Money ain't everything. Matter of fact, money is not even evil. It's the love of money is evil, and money is atypical. It's not good or bad. It's what you do with it. So with that, though, I know I went on a rampage there, but let's go to our summaries and takeaways of the day. Volatile, you know, being able to manage your money in volatile times. Okay, don't overreact to volatility. First and foremost, do not overreact to volatility because usually when things go down and day after day they go down, those are the ones that really hit you and really make you want to panic. Don't panic. Hold in there, stay steady, continue to invest, get in when it's low. And if you want to get out when it's high, but at least get in when it's low. But don't panic and don't overreact.
Yeah, and rebalancing is always necessary. When it's appropriate, you should rebalance, not try to time the market, not try to get in and get out because you think something's going to happen. But there are times where it's appropriate to rebalance, and at that time, just make the right decisions.
Know when to sell, though. Know when to sell. When I talked to you earlier, that means dropping the losers or when to let go of a winner, you know, or when to cash out, cash out. And this is all about, once again, mindset. There's no right or wrong when you should get in, when you should get out. But you need to also understand and know when to sell because that can make the difference on your portfolio.
Yeah, and to the point Bob keeps making, you can't win if you don't play. If you're not invested in the stock market, you can't have the gains associated with the stock market. If you're not in the market and you're in savings accounts at the bank, you're not going to do very well financially. You're not going to make very much money. If you're comfortable with that, so be it. But if you want to make decent returns and you can invest over the long haul, you have to be in the game in order to win.
So with that, you all, just want to thank everybody once again for tuning in to us. We're always dropping a lot of information. If y'all ever have any questions, please, put those in the comment box, and we would appreciate that. Oh, okay. Modestine say she coming out though, telling her. Modestine say I keep $25,000 in the bank for unexpected emergencies. Okay, I hope you keep it in a high yield savings account, Modestine. I really hope you do, my dear.
Hey Bob.
Yes.
Let's ask the question: how many people have locked up their credit files?
Okay, we take the roll call there. Okay, wait a minute. Garnett say, understood. However, I keep hearing you should keep emergency money in your home. Oh, no question.
In your home?
Yeah, like I'm talking about like a couple of $1,000, couple of $100, though. You know why? Because though in 2008, the FDIC, with the economic downturn, when we closed over 700 banks, there was talk because it was freezing up the lending between banks, and they were talking about freezing ATMs. You would have went to the ATM and would not been able to get any money out of the ATM, though. This is true talk at the FDIC. This was getting ready to happen, but thanks to Sheila Bear, Bernanke, and what was the other guy for Treasury? Geithner. No, Geithner. It was Geithner at the time was Treasury, and they came up with a way to rescue and increase lending between the banks. That's how the Fed rates are. But though so it's always good to have some money in the house, and that's upon you what you have. I'm talking about a couple of $100, $500, $1,000, whatever you should, but you should have some cash just in case you ever need it. Like especially people in Florida during the hurricane, seasons and tornado seasons when electricity goes down, power goes down, and you can't use credit cards and stuff like that. That's why it is good, but not to be having a whole boatload because, if you smoke and you smoke in bed, that could be all your money, but no. I'm just saying, though, okay? I'm just saying, because I know you said, what? Why would somebody have that kind of money? I'm just saying, it's good to have some cash.
Yeah, and no, those are, let's make sure we're clear. Those are decisions that are unique and personal, and there's no right or wrong answer if it makes you comfortable. But like the situation Bob was talking about with having high debt and not paying it off, that's universally not right, okay? So make sure we understand when we talk about things that are purely opinion and make you comfortable that might not make sense to somebody else. You have to do what you're comfortable with, but the fundamentals of investing that we talk about are pretty straightforward.
And I just want to leave you with the quote of the day. Nothing can bring you greater peace than minding your own business. Thank you all. We look forward to seeing y'all next week, our 172nd show. Remember y'all, if y'all Modestine say I do. Oh, you do keep some cash on. Look, for everybody who's been putting this out there, I don't know who's watching this. Don't y'all be telling us no more about how much cash you got on.
In case any crooks are listening.
In case there's somebody there. But thank you very much for that being honest, ladies and gentlemen. We really appreciate that. Thank you, everybody. Modestine, I hear you say you're doing well down there in Lexington with your nieces and the nephews. Linda, So glad to see you on board today, Nolia, and did I see Gloria out here today? Yeah. Yeah. Hey, Glo. What's up, Glo? Glad to see my three sisters, though. They were out dancing the other day. I was kind of shocked. My sister Gloria had her hip replaced, and she's back dancing already. Go ahead, Glo. Do your thing, girl. Garnett, love you, girl. Thank you for tuning in. Rodney L. Madison Sr., thenoteexperience.com. Go check them out. And the wonderful Now, Dodie. Hey, Now, how you doing? So great. Thank you for your comment. Say, looking forward to thank you for a great show. Thank you very much. And hey, Deborah Doty. What's up, Deb? What's up? Always love you being a part of this. So, Moses St. Johnson, how I think Moses Rodney's right now. So, thank you all. Great show, Dope. Once again, look forward to seeing y'all next week. And remember, I know y'all got some topics you like for us to check out. Put them in the comment box. Even when we get off here, I can see those. So put them in the comment box. You want us to cover something that we haven't covered or something that is of interest to you. With that, y'all have a wonderful evening and a great rest of the week.